Is my mic working though? Oh, okay. It is. Hey guys, good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. Just full disclosure, I am very nervous. So I will most likely at some point stumble all over my words. Please be kind. We're going to be talking about book talk, specifically how to use TikTok to sell books. I'll run you through the agenda first. So I'll have like a 10-second introduction about who I am and why I might be qualified to speak about TikTok, what BookTok is and how you actually get on it, different ways to use TikTok. You can use it for sales or engagement, and there are two entirely different objectives. Then we'll go into training the algorithm to do what you want it to do. We'll go into content research. How do I actually find what I need to be posting about? How do I learn what is working in my industry? Then we'll go over, and this part's going to be very embarrassing for me because we're going to go over the anatomy of some of my successful TikToks. And if you've seen my TikToks, they're pretty embarrassing. So it's going to be fun for you. Next, and this is something that came up when I polled you guys asking, well, what are your pain points currently? A lot of you said that you're concerned about how much time it takes to be on TikTok. So we'll have a really brief section about how you can save time in the content creation process. Next, assuming that you now know enough about how to actually create your TikToks and all of that jazz, we'll go into how to analyze your performance. Then we'll go into troubleshooting, FAQs, and finally, time allowing, we'll go into questions. About me, I am a USA Today and 4 times #1 Amazon bestselling author. I have a degree in psychology and 2 degrees in accountancy, and I use both very extensively in my business. So what you'll find is that I use social psychology to determine what works in marketing and then use all of my accountancy skills to analyze how that's performing. That's just some background. The books that you see on the screen, those all hit #1 in the US on Amazon and a couple other countries too. And a lot of it for the first 2 had to do with TikTok, the last 2 not so much. By then I had been lucky enough to gain an audience already, but the start absolutely was TikTok. Disclaimers, I write steamy billionaire romance, so what works for me may not work for you, especially if you write in a different genre. I can't tell you what's going to work in thrillers. I really wish that I could, but I can't. Then every author journey is different, and correlation does not imply causation. So I might be very convinced that TikTok is what caused my success, but it could also be that my Facebook ads had improved at the time, that my newsletter was growing. I don't know. I'm making assumptions here, and you need to keep that in mind. Then finally, I do not and have never worked with any marketing agencies or any individuals that sell courses or services. I cannot comment on other people's strategies or recommend anything or anyone to you, as I have never worked with anyone, and I also haven't taken any courses. My presentation will focus solely on my own methods. So what is BookTok and how do I get on it? Okay, so technically BookTok is just a hashtag. Think of it as a subreddit, but without defined borders. Most of you will be familiar with Reddit. It is essentially a subsection within TikTok that is solely about books. Now within BookTok, there's different genres too. Just like you would have like your categories on Amazon, we have different sections of BookTok. So you could have thriller talk, or you could have steamy talk or spicy talk. Those are all different genres and they do overlap, but you do need to know which one you are in. So to get on BookTok and to stay there, we have to train the algorithm. Let me see if there's anything I'm missing. No, I think we're good. Before we go into training, I do want you to understand the different ways that you can use TikTok. Like I mentioned, sales versus engagement, so I'll explain that. So before you go and create any type of content, you have to understand what you're using TikTok for. Do you want to engage with your readers, or do you want to sell books? There are different things, and there is some overlap, but especially if you're starting a new account, you don't want there to be that overlap, because it's going to be confusing, it's going to be harder for you to train an algorithm. So while you can mix them, if you want to do both, I would recommend that you have more than one account. I personally have 3 accounts in total. You don't need 10 accounts, or whatever strange numbers I've heard flying around. You don't need that to be successful. But you do need to separate out what you're doing. If you want one account where you want to talk to your readers, give them writing updates, or just answer their questions and things like that, you probably want a face account, like one that you're talking on video. If you want to sell books, you probably want a different type of account, either like a carousel account or one with objects like you can see in the Kindle video, the second video over there. That is a object, it's actually my account, but it's an object video. That will put the focus entirely on the content rather than on you, and that will help. Let me see, so the reason we use those bookish accounts, essentially what you would do for a sales-oriented account is you'd probably give it it's a term that I call it the passion page, and it's something that I learned in Skywarn's Facebook Ads course. So what you sometimes do to increase conversion is you would create an account that would allow for a more organic view. So you would call it maybe Steamy Books or something like that, and it's kind of like you're essentially impersonating a reader account. So if you're going to have more than one account, in this presentation my focus is going to be primarily on my account, but if you're going to have a sales account, you will probably want that type of account, doing all the same things that I do, just in a different way. I do mixed sales and engagement on my account, but I'll go into that a little bit more later. To illustrate, the first one is one of my lip sync videos, the second one is the kind of one that I just mentioned. The third one, however, is literally, I don't know if you can read that, but it basically says, do you guys want a cover reveal for the third book in my series? And at that point, the series was doing decently, so I figured people would engage with that, and they did. You can tell, I think it says 60K views on that one. So those type of videos do well, but you have to be careful with how you use them. So now that we have a good idea, I'm going to assume that your objective is going to be sales. I'm not going to go too much into engagement, but we're going to assume that you want sales, and we're going to train the algorithm to do specifically that for you. So before you start training the algorithm, you have to know what is my objective, usually sales, and also what is my specific subsection of TikTok, which normally translates to your genre, and there can absolutely be more than one, but you have to know what it is. If you don't know what you're writing, or you don't know where your audience is, you can't find them. So when you train the algorithm, you have to be very intentional about it. So the first thing that I would always do is I would start following relevant accounts. That could be influencers, it could be authors, it could be readers. It could be pretty much anything. So what you do is you would just look them up, then watch those videos, watch them in full, complete the whole video. If you like them, engage with them, like them, bookmark them, whatever. Just engage, show the algorithm this is content that I am interested in. Second, go and search for relevant hashtags for your genre, and again, be very specific. If you have specific tropes that you write, like maybe you write like, so I'm actually really not good with anything that's not romance, so I'm gonna say one bad trope. Say you specifically write that, go watch videos on that, go search that, and just keep going until the only thing that you see in your feed is very specifically what you essentially want to create yourself. So the third one, and this is a very important one, for every video that you see in your feed that is not what you want, long press it, you will find a screen that looks like that on the right side, click not interested. I try to circle it, it doesn't look like a circle, but the red thing around it, that's where we press. Do it for every single irrelevant video in your feed, and this can take you hours, but it's worth doing, until nothing in your feed is stuff that is not relevant to your goals. And it is absolutely okay to go down a rabbit hole in research in this aspect. Click the hashtags on these successful videos and check, well, is this relevant to me? Let's watch those videos. Do that until you're good. Next, now we have a feed that is, hold on, I'm stuck. Now we have a feed that has only the content that we want. So now we're going to start paying attention. What are these people that are posting the things in my genre? What are they posting? What type of content is it? Is it primarily lip syncs? Is it carousels? Or some people call them slideshows or photo reels, I don't know, like that thing. Are they candle videos? Are they like, just pay attention to what you're seeing and make sure that everything that you note is relevant. If you, at this stage, notice something that is not relevant, continue to optimize. Pay attention to their captions. Are they very SEO friendly? What does the metadata look like? What hashtags are they using? Where do they put the title? Do they put it in the caption or do they put it in the comments? Check for sounds. Are they primarily using trends? Are they using trendy sounds, and what are those for your specific genre? Next, we start making a list of hashtags that we keep seeing, and we check them out because we can use them for further training. Write them down because you're going to need them later. Next, we check the length. What is very popular in my genre? Are they all quite long videos? Are the longer videos performing better than the shorter ones? Are we seeing those two-liners where it's like, he does this and then that happens? What are you seeing in your specific subsection of your genre? Write it down, because you're gonna keep seeing things in your feed, you're gonna get confused. You're gonna be like, oh, well, that looks fun, I'm gonna try that. But it's not consistent with what you've researched. So do your research and stick to it. Finally, what do the hooks look like? Are they recurring? Are they often leading with tropes? What point of view are those TikToks in? If there is variation amongst the things that you see, there's like maybe 4 or 5 things you see happening very frequently and they all seem to work, test. See what works best for your account, what your audience responds to, but pick one thing that's common amongst these and start with that. To illustrate the types of content that I just mentioned, the first one is a lip sync video. The second one is a candle video with limited movement, which means that I keep the camera quite steady, but the flame is moving to show TikTok that this is not a static video. It is there is something going on. It's not just a photo that I've pasted text over. The third one is a 13-second very short video, which is one of those two-liners that I just mentioned. I think it says, when she complains once about his driveway ruining her shoes, then I think the next line is something like, the next time she goes to his house, he's repaved the whole driveway. So it's like one of those feel-good things that's catchy. People like that. They'll be interested in the dynamic between that relationship, the dynamic of that relationship. Those kind of things, those are the ones that you want to keep an eye on, but when you do that, also keep an eye on the metrics. So do you see those orange boxes on the second video? Those are the ones we really want to pay attention to. The top right one is bookmarks or saves. That's how many people have saved that video. And normally when they do that, they do it so they can look up the video later, they can look up the book later, or they can revisit something that they like but keep scrolling for now. Then the second, that's your views and shares. So we want to basically make sure that it is a viral video. But if the views are high and the bookmarks are low, that's not a well-performing video, we disregard it. So check what is most common in the industry, check how each of these types perform in the industry. Personally, I think it's best to choose one specific type and stick to it for your account until your account performs well enough to experiment. Okay, content creation. So how do we pick our scenes and hooks? Strong emotions are key, and this is true for any kind of marketing that you do, but especially so for social media marketing. What you want to go for is universal fantasies, and if you are not familiar with that concept, Theodore Taylor has a great book about it. It is called, I want to say, 7-Figure Fiction. I believe that's what it's called. I would highly recommend it. It is a very good way to learn what that means, how you can find it in your own books, and I do believe that she gives examples of it as well that you could apply to other genres, which I am not going to be able to do for you. So you go for things that are angsty, anything that's going to make people feel anything, Cinderella moments, micro tropes, such as when in A Marriage of Convenience, the guy says, my wife, for the first time, or just in general. I don't know what that is for other genres, but I'm sure that you do, because you know your genre. Other than that, go for spicy scenes if you write spicy, or go for cliche moments. And yes, that is somewhat controversial, but cliches work in marketing. So if you have them in your book, and even if they make you cringe, and mine frequently do, they do convert. Try them. If you can lead with tropes, do so. For example, you're in a marriage of convenience with your best friend's brother. That is 2 tropes. Marriage of convenience, your best friend's brother. And then obviously, I wouldn't just say that. There would be a hook. So I tried to write one for a lit RPG, but I'm pretty sure I still don't understand the genre, despite speaking to many of you, but I tried. So I was like, you could potentially be like, if you're one of few survivors and unlock a new magic system. Basically, you want to immediately tell them what kind of book it is, what kind of tropes there are, what the general concept is. Try to leave your scenes or your content on a micro cliffhanger. You can also go for a harsh cliffhanger where you just say, then he says, and you cut off the video. Don't do that frequently, it's very irritating, people are going to hate you. But if your account's not performing well, you need to pick me up, it definitely does work. Just don't gain a reputation for being annoying. I think other than that, just pay attention to what you're trying to do. You basically want to drop your readers into rising action. You don't want to drop them into an introduction. You only have a few seconds to capture your reader's attention. So we're not going to start off with an introduction, but we have to provide enough context nonetheless. So it's not you wake up at 3 a.m. disoriented. It is you wake up to your neighbor pressing a knife to your throat. I know I just woke up. I know what the conflict is, and I'm now very intrigued. Why is my neighbor doing that, and how am I going to respond to that situation? Great hook. People will probably watch the next line, if nothing else. If you've done your research, which I hope you have done based on the previous things, you probably already have a list of common hooks that other people are using in your industry. See if those inspire you. Don't copy them. It's irritating when people do that. Try to be unique, because you're going to confuse readers. They're going to be like, oh, I know this book, that's X person's X title. It's not, it's yours. You're not going to get people commenting another title in your reel or your TikTok. It's not going to help you. But if you can get something that's very similar, but is more applicable to your book, go for it. It's going to work great for you. Yes, okay, that's all good. If you have scenes that perform really well on Facebook, 99% chance they're also going to do well on TikTok, but you will have to rewrite them. So I always consider TikTok scenes or copy as like a blurb for a scene. And I know most people don't like blurbs. I happen to really love writing them. But if you are a pretty good blurb writer, you're going to be a very good TikTok content writer. What you want to do is you want to take a scene and you want to basically not give away everything, but entice the reader into reading that specific scene. You don't have to entice them to read the whole book. You just have to get them interested in that one scene that you're presenting them with. In addition to the above, if you really don't know, based on everything that you've just researched, you still don't know where to start, go to the popular highlights in your books. You can find those on Kindle. See what readers are highlighting in your books. Those are the scenes they love most, for whatever reason. You might not agree, but something about those scenes is striking a chord with them, and they're like, well, I love that. If they love it there, they'll love it on your TikTok. You just have to figure out how to translate a long scene into something that works for TikTok. I hope we're clear so far. I'm speaking relatively quickly because I'm trying to get through it all, but I will leave time for questions if anything is not clear. One of your main concerns when I polled you was that you were concerned about spending too much time. So this is how I batch content. I actually only spend maybe 5 minutes a day on TikTok. I really don't have more time than that, to be perfectly honest. So what I do is I film all my content in one go. That's why I'm always wearing the same outfits in like 100 videos. I filmed it all in one go. If you're not using your face, but you're using anything else, you can use Canva. You can batch all of that content, save it, or you can, if you do the Kindle videos, you can just reuse that. If you are planning to reuse content, I would recommend that you use CapCut, because you can then swap out the video and keep the text. So you'll be able to create new content really quickly based on copy that's already performing really well for you. If you see that little screenshot on the right, that is how I save my content. So those are abbreviations of my titles. The TBV, for example, is short for the Broken Vows, which is my latest release. And I then categorize it by scene. I know it's not by chapter, it's by scene, because there could be more scene in one chapter. So the top one is a card game. I obviously know what scene that is. So long as you know what it is and you'll be able to find it quickly, that's all that matters. Within that, you can write different versions, e.g. different hooks. Same content, just the first line is different. Then you can just copy, paste, and be really quick in your content creation. Try to save a list of the hashtags that I told you to research and save. Save them in your notes so you can experiment with new ones. I don't usually use more than 3 to 5, but you can experiment with what works for you. Normally, I would say use at least one bigger one and use some niche ones. Like have a combination of smaller and bigger hashtags and see how those perform for you. Save all the sounds that you see other content creators use. Save them in your account so you can quickly grab them. Then finally, pre-write your censored content, because you can't use words like blood or kill, or like there are a lot of things you can't say in advertising in general. If you don't think you can say it on Facebook, don't try saying it on TikTok. You do probably have to switch it up. You can run the same scene over and over again as many times as you really please, but you will have to probably switch up your hook. If you have that all saved, it's a lot easier for you, because then you're not struggling on the day like, oh my gosh, how do I refresh my content? That will save you a lot of time. Then finally, I do pre-create at least 2 weeks worth of content in the TikTok app. So all I have to do is press post or publish. I don't even know what the button says, but one of those. You just have everything ready to go. You wait until it's time for you to post at the time that you've chosen to post, and you're good to go. That's all you need to do. Then finally, the part that I'm not going to like, the anatomy of a successful TikTok. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down one of my recent videos and 2 older ones. And there are a couple of things that I specifically want you to pay attention to. I admit I am really going to hate this, but we're going to keep an eye on eye tracking. And by eye tracking, I mean this is something that I use in marketing very often. Eye tracking means when someone is watching your video or any type of content, how do their eyes move across the screen? That's something that most people don't really think about, but if you want to keep someone's attention, you have to keep their eyes moving, but not so much that it's jarring. So keep an eye on how I do that in my videos. It goes hand in hand with readability. How readable are your videos for people? Then second, what hooks am I using? Or, essentially what I want you to do is I want you to do the research on my videos now so I know that you get it. And then I can break down for you why the things that I do work for me, and hopefully that translates to something you can use. So keep an eye on the hooks that I use. They might not apply to you, but keep an eye on how I write them anyway, in case you learn anything from it. Second, video length. I think I have one ranging between like 40 seconds to 1 minute. That is the length that works well for me. It goes in hand with basic storytelling concepts. What that means is the longer you can keep someone in a story or in a scene, the higher the likelihood of converting them. Yes, you can convert them with short 2-liners. You absolutely can, and a lot of people do. But if you want to increase your chances of success, you probably want to try and keep them in your scene a bit longer so that you have more time to convince them to read your book. That is why I do it like that. Then censoring, I actually don't remember which scenes that I picked for you, but I do censor things so that you don't get flagged for community violations. Sometimes it's just wording where I'm like, oh, I'm not too sure about it. Doesn't need to be censored. I do it anyway, just as a precaution. Then we're going to talk about metadata and SEO. It's not going to be visible because you would have to see. You're not going to see it, in short. We'll go into it after that. So hopefully that is going to work for you. Keep an eye on these things. We're going to watch these videos. Try not to judge me too harshly. The first one, I'm just going to press play and see if that works. Wait. It's not working. Okay. Sound? No sound. We do have sound. Okay. I pressed play on all the things. I'm sorry. Give me like a second. I'm going to figure out how to redo it. Okay, let's watch this one first because it's the least embarrassing one. Read the hook. Okay, we only have 18 minutes left, and I am not sure how many. Could you put your hand up if you think you're going to be asking a question? No questions? Okay. All right, that's good. That means we can go through the whole presentation and I don't have to worry about time. Okay, so what did you notice? Obviously, this is too big of a room for us to have the conversation I would have liked to have. So I'm going to talk you through it. I'm going to mute this, and we're going to play it again. I'm going to talk while it plays so we can discuss this. Okay, so there's a really clear hook. I'm going to press pause so I can actually talk you through this. We can see that she gets bad news, but we don't leave it on that. We don't actually go to the next slide because there's not enough context. It's not interesting enough to hook the reader, so I added a second line. Don't usually do that, but for this specific one, I thought the first line was too boring to hook them. So we added a second one. So she receives bad news. We're already intrigued. Why? Why is it bad news? What happened? She goes home. She walks in on her boyfriend cheating on her. What a dick. So now we're already mad because, oh my gosh, why would he do that to her when she's already having a bad day, right? We're intrigued. We want to know what happens, how she handles the situation. Please pause. No. Okay, this is not working out for me. I'm just going to walk you through it. I don't know how to do this thing. Okay, so the hook is pretty clear to you now, I hope. Is it clear? Okay. Then can you tell that the readability is very high? The font's pretty big. It's in the middle. Your eyesight is literally above the candle where also the text is going to go in terms of your caption and stuff like that. But it's not so high that the search bar is going to go over it. It's very readable. There's also, the wording is very simple. I'm not trying to tell you a million things. This is what it is. The video length, it's readable. It's not moving so quickly that you have to continuously pause, rewind, and get annoyed and be like, well, I'm not reading that. I'm going to scroll past to the next one. The sound I'm using, it was not a viral sound at the time I was using, like no one was using it, but it was very stable. It had like a very stable bass, which for a video like that is very convenient because it's not distracting. So if you have a sound that is very distracting, could be very trendy, you probably won't see me using it because I know my reader is going to be trying to sing along, or they're not going to, for very catchy songs or very quick moving songs, you're going to need to make your text last a lot longer, or you need to do a carousel. This is not going to work for you, so I just don't use them for this type of video. In terms of censoring, don't remember. I think you get the point. We have 15 minutes. Should we skip the next two or should we go through it? Okay, we're gonna do it, but if I run out of time, it's your fault. Okay, the second one. Is the sound on? Yeah. Yes? Okay, that's the whole thing. It's a pretty short video. This one, I think it's 40 seconds, but it's very clear what it is. They work together. He wants her. She has a thing for him, won't admit to it. They're at an auction. Clearly, it's a billionaire romance. We're bidding large amounts of money. That is a universal fantasy. And then you will find microtrope. He says, good girl at some point, something that romance readers love, included in your content if you have something like that. Don't remember, there was another point I wanted to make, but I'm concerned about time. That actually is one of my highest performing videos, and every single time that I post it, it goes viral. Don't know what it is about it, just does really well every single time. So that's how you would craft that video. You have all your key points, include your microtropes, include your universal fantasies, don't include too much information. That's the whole thing. This one I'm not gonna love, but we're gonna watch it anyway. Notice the cliffhanger we left them on? It's not a harsh one, but it is one, because now we want to know, how is she going to get herself out of that situation? She's standing there with both men, one that she's been engaged to all her life, clearly doesn't really want her because she doesn't really know him even. The other is her boyfriend, that now is going to find out that she's engaged to someone else. It's a pretty good cliffhanger, but it's one that is not annoying. I hope that you kind of understand that distinction. In terms of eye tracking readability, you can tell that I put myself above the actual text. You can still see my face. For social media, your face is 9 out of 10 times going to convert much better than anything else can, because people like seeing people. Which is also why people keep stealing that video for their like weird apps. It's very stressful. But yeah, that's the thing. So in terms of readability, it's pretty good. So what you can see is I censored a couple of things like anger, because I don't want to signify to TikTok that this is a violent type of video. It's not, it doesn't need to be censored really, but we're doing it just to be cautious. The hooks are clear, the video length is long enough for you to experience the whole scene and still want more. The sound was a trending one, but it wasn't one that was really fast moving. In terms of metadata and SEO, we're going to go into that now because I think I really hope that you have a pretty good idea of what I've been trying to tell you so far. So I'm not going to go and over-explain anything at this stage. So now let's look at the metadata. So this is a new thing that TikTok has been doing, and yes, this is incorrect because the book is actually called The Unwanted Marriage, and their SEO put it on The Unwarranted Marriage, which it's close enough, I'll take it. So what I did, I told you earlier in my presentation that I combine engagement and sales. Not many people do it, and it's very hard to do because usually you have an account that does one or the other. You don't usually do both. I do both. So what I did here is the caption says, I actually forgot. It says, what was your favorite scene in this book? Because I'm assuming that at this point the book's been out for a month. A lot of people have probably read it. I don't want to miss out on the engagement that can make that video go viral by not addressing my existing readers. So they're going to go comment because they want to talk to me, and that will show the video to new readers. That is why I do it, and I think that's an important distinction to understand. You have to understand why you put those questions in. Have a strategy. For every video that you do, have a strategy. So I put the actual title in the comments. You do this. I don't actually like doing it, but you do it so that people ask for the title, and that ups your engagement. So some really quick notes. Try to reply to all the comments that you can in the first hour or so. I don't like to speculate in my sessions because none of us really know how TikTok works. We don't know how the algorithm works. I don't know if like watching the first 6 or 10 seconds is going to do anything for you. No one but TikTok knows that, so I'm not going to speculate on anything like that. But I do know that if you comment, this is just basic common sense, if you comment and someone replies to you, you probably want to engage with them more. So for those kind of things, try to do that. Try to catch any like negative comments as quickly as you can and use comment filters to do so. Definitely things like free or read online or PDF, EPUB, stupid because people are so mean on TikTok. Like all of those things, catch them. I think, and then I told you in this one as well, specifically I used book talks, Steamy Reads, romance books, and possessive book boyfriends. Like I told you, the first ones are bigger, the latter are much smaller ones, so you'll be able to reach a bigger audience. Okay, we don't have much time left. We're doing okay. So let's go and talk about analyzing your performance. So the reason I included that lip sync video that I didn't want to include is because all of my recent ones have been that. And I wanted to be able to show you the performance of a recent video. So this is the video that you just watched, that's the performance of that specific video. So I took this screenshot, I believe on November 2nd, and since then it's gained another 30K views. So content goes viral for longer these days than it did in the past. It's a slower incline now. So what you want to look at, so essentially you have this page and you have to actually turn on your analytics before you post your first video or it's not going to gather anything for you. Learn that the hard way. So try to look at the total playtime and stuff like that. That's great. You obviously want to know like how long can I keep the people in the video. If like some of your older videos have like a longer retention period, you probably messed something up and you can probably increase. You can check at 25 seconds, what is the text? Do I need to improve that part of the text for future reference? That's how you use that. There are a lot of things that are actually not relevant to you, but the things that you do want to know is what is the age group? If I am reaching a very old age group, book talk readers of an older generation are not really on book talk, so if it's primarily that, you did something wrong. You want it to skew young, and if you are writing romance, you really don't want men to see your video. So if this is 97% female, you're probably doing okay, it's fine. Those are the things you want to look at, and then you want to look at the location because you primarily want to reach people that probably have KU or whatever your model is wherever you sell books. And you want it to look like that. You do want it to be primarily the United States, the UK, Canada, Australia, English-speaking countries where people probably have KU and have Kindle and can actually buy your book. What sometimes happens is for really high-converting videos, it goes viral in Asia. And when it does that, you will find that you will gain really high views, a lot of comments, and the metrics all look great. You're not seeing an increase in your royalties. Usually it's because they're pirating your book. I'm sorry, but it happens. When that happens, you see that happening, take the video down. Clearly, it is high performing. You probably posted it at the wrong time. I really hope that is enough. Wait, no, I missed something. Okay, so in terms of conversion, the main metric that I look at is how many people are saving this video. If it is not more than 50, I will probably take the whole video down because something was wrong with it. If I thought it was a good video and by all accounts, based on my personal experience, it should have gone viral, I will repost that video at a different time, maybe with a different sound. If it has over 50 views and it has only 1,000 views, I'll keep it. Clearly it's converting. It'll probably go viral at a later stage. When something else similar goes viral, it might pick up. I just leave it alone. I'm not overly concerned about views. I think I covered everything there. I think we're good. You can always rewatch that if you need to. Then troubleshooting. Okay, so these are technically also frequently asked questions, but I call it troubleshooting because it's specifically about your videos. Okay, what if I have very high views but very few saves? Like I just said about the Philippines thing, that happens to me very frequently because I live in Asia, so sometimes things go wrong for me. You're reaching the wrong audience. Take the video down. If everything looks good, you're not seeing an increase in your royalties, take it down, you reach the wrong audience. And also try to look at your analytics because if that's in the US, you're probably reaching men versus, like you're not reaching the right subsection of your genre. What if I have over 50 saves but my video didn't go viral? I don't know what makes a video go viral. Really, I wish I did. It would be very nice if I did, but I don't actually know. It means your scene is good, you have conversion. Try a different sound, try a different hashtag, or tweak your copy just slightly and try that scene again. The scene itself is probably good, but you're gonna have to make some small changes. Now, my video went viral. How do I maximize my results? Repost it. I repost all of my good TikToks onto my stories and onto Reels straight away. My Reels do really, really well, far better than my TikToks these days. Try to use the same copy or use a different sound. Just honestly, like, do whatever you can to exploit that same video, and then you can also you can repost the exact same video, but what I do instead is I use the same text on a slightly different video. I might actually just make another video of the same song, of me lip-syncing the same song, but it's not repetitive content for TikTok, because I don't want to speculate, but they don't usually like that. Now there's I can't gain traction. I hear this one a lot, and I'm not sure what to do about it, but in my experience, and people that have asked me that question, it has been a combination of wrong copy, you just don't know how to write a hook, or your timing is off in your videos and people are scrolling past because you are keeping them on the same text too long or not long enough. The readability is too low, again, similar to what I just said, but also maybe your text is too big or too small, or it's an irritating font. It can also be lack of consistency. Maybe you're not posting every day. Maybe you're posting too many different things. Maybe you're posting short videos, long videos, and everything in between. It's fun, it is. Try not to do it. It's not going to, long-term results, it's not going to be great. It works for some people, but you don't want to be an outlier when you could just rely on consistency instead. If you've had these issues, especially the latter ones, I would recommend that you create a new account and start training it from the start using everything that I just told you. And then be consistent with one style of video and see how that works for you. Then the FAQ. How do I get onto TikTok from outside the US? This was a question someone specifically asked in the 20 Books Facebook group recently when I asked you guys, what are the problems you're facing? So I live in Hong Kong. TikTok is banned where I live. So I have a phone that doesn't have a SIM card in it at all, and I use ExpressVPN, which I use in daily life as well. I use it for a lot of things, but for TikTok especially, I place that in the States and I post. That's all I do. You don't need a US SIM card. You don't need all kinds of nonsense. You can get an iPad that you have at home that doesn't have a SIM card, download TikTok and get ExpressVPN or any other VPN of your choosing. It will work for you. How often do I post? Okay, So this is tricky because some accounts can post like all day long and be fine. I post once a day because I don't have time. When I was a lot newer to it, I used to post 2 or 3 times a day. I wouldn't recommend posting a lot more than that because you're not giving your videos a chance to gain traction. You're cannibalizing your own views. So you could, at most, every 3 or 4 hours during US daylight hours. Don't really recommend posting at night because that's how you go viral in the Philippines. 7 p.m. EST, look, I'm very upset about it. 7 p.m. EST usually works well for me. That's what works. I also have people that do 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Like, different things work for different people. You're going to have to test it, see what works for your audience. This is just what works for me. What equipment do I need? I only have a minute left. So I use a ring light on my iPhone to film, use CapCut for videos you want to use, or Canva for carousel videos, slideshows, whatever you want to call it. Will TikTok work for me if I write insert genre? I don't know. I really don't know. It depends on whether your audience is on TikTok. If your audience is not on TikTok, probably will not work for you. If it is going to work for you, you probably have a smaller audience, and it's going to be harder for you to gain a readership on there. That doesn't mean you can't gain one. It means it's going to be harder, and you're not going to be able to gain the success that romance has. It's a bigger genre on TikTok. Nothing I can do about that. No tips that I can give you are going to get more lit RPG readers onto TikTok. You can't reach an audience that isn't there. Then finally, this is supposed to be questions. I did it with 45 seconds to go. I hope this was helpful. I really hope that I didn't miss anything and that it was accessible. I know it's not necessarily accessible for all genres, and I tried my best to make it basic enough that it could be applicable. If you have questions, I'm going to try and be around because I definitely messed up the timing. I was supposed to have 15 minutes for questions. So I'm going to be around. If you have anything, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. And in the meantime, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you being here.